Hey, what's
Hey,
up, man?
I'm good. How you doing?
Doing pretty good. Such an honor to have you here. How's it going in LA for you?
I'm happy to be on with you. LA's under a pandemic right now, so there's not a
Yeah,
lot going on, which is sort of good for me. It's more time to write.
yeah, totally agree. Yeah, and Atlanta kind of slow as well. Some time to get everything together as well for new scripts. Guys, he is finally here. The one, the only Preston A. Whitmore. Let's jump right into it. So, guys, we have Preston Whitmore. He is a trend-setting Hollywood writer, producer, and director who is the owner of the Preston Picture Company, located in Los Angeles, California. Preston stepped on the scene in a major way in 1995 with his thought-provoking film, The Walking Dead movie. Additionally, Preston has directed hit films like Doing Hard Time, Crossover, True to the Game, and my personal favorite, the holiday family classic, This Christmas, to name a few. He even went on to be an NAACP Image Award nominee for Outstanding Directing in a Motion Picture for the hit film This Christmas. Ladies and gentlemen, the talented, the one, the only, Preston Whitmore. Thank you so much for being here today, sir.
Thank you. Far too kind.
Yeah.
It sounds more impressive than it actually is.
Oh no, you are very impressive. I love it. So let's jump right into it, Preston. How did you get your start as a director?
My entry into the motion picture business was probably different from other people because actually I didn't start as a director. I started as a writer,
Uh-huh.
and I had actually had dropped out of law school to become a professional writer. Helped somebody with their screenplay, and they gave it to their agent. The agent looked at it and decided they should represent me.
Oh wow, wow. So that's a definitely untraditional way, but it definitely I'm so glad that that happened because you are amazing at what you do. Guys, we're on the line with the talented Preston Whitmore. Get those questions ready, guys. There's a small button on the bottom with a question mark. You can put all your questions there. So let's kind of move on from that, Preston. So Preston, you are truly a trailblazer. Like I said earlier, you really are, and you are truly the voice of the culture. You even directed hit films like Fled, Lockdown, and Civil Brand, in
Oh, I
which
didn't.
all
I did not
yeah.
direct Fled.
Oh, not
Um,
Fled. Yes. Okay.
no, no. Kevin Hooks directed Fled. I was the
Copy you.
executive producer on that,
Yeah.
and I was directly responsible for him being hired on the picture.
Awesome, awesome. So you were definitely involved and so guys, he did not direct Fled, but he was executive producer on that. But all those films had a similar theme in tone, and you will see why, guys. And also, I read that your earlier work often focused on the disproportionate incarceration of African American men and women. So this is my question for you, Preston. How much of your real life have influenced the stories you decided to tell as a director?
Real life dictates everything
Mm,
because,
yeah,
as you probably look and notice, that most of the things that I direct, actually all the things I direct, I've written.
yeah.
I had a friend that I grew up with, my best friend, and he was incarcerated.
Mm,
And he would call me every Sunday and sort of give me the lowdown on what was going on in the prison at that particular time. And I took notes.
uh-huh,
And I actually ended up writing Lockdown as a result of
yeah.
that.
Uh-huh.
And then I went on to write Civil Brand, which is directed by Nima Burnett.
Hmm.
And then the studio actually asked me for another prison movie because those were doing well. And
Yeah.
uh, I had actually decided to write what eventually became Doing Hard Time.
Doing hard
So I
time.
used that as an opportunity to come back and direct because they really wanted the movie. So I wrote it, and they said, you can direct it, go do what you want to do. And hired Boris Kojo,
Hmm.
Michael K. Williams before anybody knew who he was, Sticky
Yeah.
Fingers, Reagan Gomez Preston. And we had a great time making that movie, too. It was really fun.
Yeah, and actually, before I even wanted to be a director myself, that was one of the first movies that I've seen. I bought on DVD from a store, doing hard times. So I'm like, well, and I'm honored to be talking to you today, sir. Guys,
Oh, well,
we are
thank you.
on the line with the talented Preston A. Whitmore the second. Get those questions ready, guys. He is truly dropping gems, and will continue to drop gems throughout the conversation. There's a small button on the bottom with a question mark. Put all your questions there, guys. So, Preston, how do you find your voice as a director on projects that are your own versus projects you are just work for hire for? Is there even a difference, Preston?
There's definitely a difference
Mm,
in projects that uh, I did write True to the Game, which I directed,
yeah,
but I came on as a consultant as a writer first for there was a previous director on,
yeah,
and somehow the director fell out and they asked me if I wanted to do it, and I came on and said okay.
yeah.
And then I did a whole entire new draft under it of the movie. And what I had to find out was what was special about the picture.
Hmm.
Certainly, you had the gang life and drugs in that particular movie, but you got to find the soul of the picture. And then the
Yeah.
soul of that movie was a love story.
Yeah.
And so all the other gang related stuff, yeah, that was cool. And it was like garnishes on a cake. But the cake in and of itself was a love story between Gina and Claudia. And so I approached it that way and really actually sort of looked at um, Pretty Woman as sort of the model for that.
Oh wow, completely opposite. Wow, really? Pretty Woman.
Yeah, yeah, Pretty
Yeah.
Woman. And except for the Richard Gere character was
Yeah.
Claudia and he was a drug dealer.
Yeah, right, exactly. Right, right. Wow.
But he did a lot of things that I added into the picture. And it was brilliantly played by Columbus Short, who I think is so underrated, who's an extremely talented actor.
He is, yeah.
So he was able to take what was already on the page and elevate it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's important when you're directing the picture that your audience cares about whoever the character is, whether they're a drug dealer, a killer, or whatever. You want to find that thing that creates that empathy for them. And one of the things that I put in the picture that I really like is where he got on the bus
Yeah.
and tried to convince her to be with him.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of women really liked it. That this guy who had everything, he had sent a note and a driver, so on and so forth. Let's go to Atlantic City. But in the end of the day, it took him getting on a bus and
Just to
wooing her
get him.
that way. Yeah.
Wow, that was, and it was beautifully captured, guys. We are talking about his hit film, True to the Game. We're going to talk about that a little bit later, but guys, he is here with us. He is here. Preston A. Whitmore the second is here, dropping gems. Please get those questions ready. There's a button on the bottom with the question mark. Put all your questions there. Don't put them in the comments, guys. He is truly here with us. So, Preston, as you know, there are different types of directors, sir. You know, there's all types. Some specialize in drama, some specialize in action, and some can just do it all. So, this is my question for you, sir. What type of director would you say you are, and do you feel that a director should just stick to directing what they know, or should every director strive to touch every genre? What are your views on that, sir?
It's really kind of mixed. It's sort of a difficult question because you never want to sort of limit yourself in what you can do. But clearly there are things that some directors can do better than other directors. Like you look at Scorsese. Nobody makes a gangster movie like Scorsese.
Agreed.
So you don't necessarily tune in to him for a family movie.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean he can't do it. He has the same skill set. I kind of think, because I kind of do everything. I mean, I do love stories. In fact, I just finished a love story called California Love.
Yeah, excited about that. Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna be seeing that soon. But again, that was a love story set in like 1992 against the Los Angeles riots. So it's finding that one thing that works for you. But sometimes you say you want to experiment and go outside that.
Awesome. I love that you do that, sir. And one thing about your body of work, you pull from real life experiences, and I know you can do any genre of work. If you don't learn anything, guys, never limit yourself. At least try every genre. You will find your niche.
Absolutely.
He is here, the one, the only, the talented Preston A. Whitmore. Get those questions ready. There's a small button on the bottom with the question mark. We will get to those questions towards the end of the show. So, Preston, moving on a little bit further, given your amount of experience in the industry, what would you tell your younger first-time director self? What would you tell yourself, sir?
You froze up on that. I didn't hear the question.
Oh yeah. Given your extensive amount of experience in the industry today, what would you tell your younger first-time director self?
Never quit and stay true to your vision. There'll be a lot of obstacles, and it's easy to kind of throw in the towel.
Yeah.
But if in fact this is your passion and what you want to do, never quit. Never. No matter what happens, you sit there, you figure out a way to make it work. I mean, if you look at a lot of great directors, Spike Lee, when he was doing She's Gotta Have It, there was another picture he was supposed to do before that.
Yeah.
He got the grant money, begged, borrowed, he stole, whatever he had to do to get the picture made. And it's unfair because as African Americans, we don't necessarily have a legacy in this business. One of the cool things when we did Fled was Kevin Hooks directed. His son did a small role, and his father did a role. So you saw 3 generations of African American men in film involved in that picture. And since we don't have a legacy, it takes you like maybe 5 years to figure out like how the game works.
Yeah, yeah.
But you shouldn't quit. You got to stay in there. And I think that chance and circumstances is awarded everyone. And you will get your chance and your opportunity. The most important thing is to be ready when it comes.
Wow. Wow. Please take notes. I know I am taking notes. I'm like a sponge right now. Be ready for when that opportunity comes. Be ready. He is dropping gems. I hope you are taking notes. If you have any questions, guys, put those questions on the bottom in the question mark. We will get to those towards the end of the show. So, Preston, let's talk all things actors. Me and you know a whole lot about actors. So, Preston, what advice would you give difficult actors who feel they may can talk to the director any kind of way, but also don't want to take direction and they just want to do it their way? There's a lot of independent actors on the line. They may not understand that. What advice would you give them, sir?
I don't really run into those particular type of problems.
Yeah.
The most important weapon in your arsenal, so to speak, when you're directing is knowing your job and knowing the script and knowing what you're doing. So you got to do the requisite homework that involves that. You got to sit down and understand the plot points. And clear, I don't think any actor is irrational. And you got to, they understand that you're there to help them, but you have to be helpful. If you're sort of like kind of flying off by the seat of your pants, sort of trying to figure it out as you go, it's never going to work and they're never going to respect you. What people ultimately respect in the end of the day is that you know what you're talking about. I've had situations, even with a president of a studio, came down and questioned something I was doing. And then when he took a look, he was like, hey, the guy's right. So it was no problem. Most important is know your job and know what you're doing. And to the extent you can explain that to an actor, they're not idiots. They'll see that you have no interest in making them looking bad. Because if they look bad, you look bad.
Totally agree.
Once you explain it to them and you know it, they're fine.
Totally agree, guys. He is dropping gems. Actors definitely take notes. Trust the director just as much as we trust you as the actors. He is dropping gems. We're on the line with the talented Preston Whitmore. He is here, guys. Put those questions on the bottom in the question mark box. We will get those towards the end. So while we're still on the topic of actors, so Preston, as a director, what do you look for in an actor, and how does an actor remain memorable to you as the director and the camera?
I mean, I often talk about this sitting on the other side of the table when someone comes in an audition. What you got to understand as an actor is this is not a workshop. We're there to hire the person that is closest to the character that's on the page. So you got to come in and be that, which means you got to know those lines. And you sometimes people boil it down to, oh, I got to wear my lucky red shirt. You don't need your lucky red shirt. All you need to do is to know the lines and say them with conviction. And we'll know that that's the character when we hear it. Then if you have something you want to add, then you say, hey, look, I thought about this. Let me try it a different way. Because what you got to understand is the networks, the studios, they have paid a great deal of money to have someone write the words that you're reciting. And I guarantee you don't know as much as the writer that spent months doing this within that 5 minutes or 48 hours that you've had these sides.
That is so true.
Stick to the lines and say them with conviction, and that will prevail all the time.
Stick to the lines. Sam would say it with conviction, guys. He is dropping gems, but it all comes from preparation. Actors and directors, but actors, make sure you are prepared to get that job, guys. Yes.
Yeah, because the thing is, your job as an actor is to play a character. We're not hiring you. We're hiring you to portray a character. And to the extent that you can portray that character and what's written is what's going to win. That's why you often see you kind of look at television, you say, oh, I see this person's on this show, and they're on this show again. And they figured that out.
They mastered it,
They've mastered it. They come in, they do the lines as written. And then if they have something extra, say, hey, I want to try this a different way. And the director would probably say, okay. But that's the key right there.
And that's very interesting. Very quickly, do you feel that television actors are different from theatrical actors? What do you find? What do you see difference in those actors, Preston?
I don't think there's really any difference in it. The lines are really blurred right now as far
Yeah,
as theatrical and television, and then you have cable and you have streaming. I find at this particular time that a lot of the good stuff is on television or on
hmm
cable.
yeah,
A lot of the more compelling stories are there. Um, and not to say that these big tentpole movies aren't good. They're certainly good, but I find that there's more in depth on TV right now, and
hmm
that there's really no difference between an actor because again, the actor's function is to portray a character, whether it's in a theatrical or television.
hmm
But the big thing to me is when you start to look at actors and the skill set. I find that actors that have done theater are
yeah,
infinitely better at it than actors that just kind of walk off the street. And I think one of the things the actors forget is this is a vocation like anything else, like a doctor or a lawyer, and you got to take it as serious as that. So a
hmm
lot of times when people talk about they want to be an actor, I'm like, hey, go to school for it, study
hmm
drama, do
yes,
plays in school. One of the great things about if you go to college or you go to high school and you do it, or you go to community college is unlike some of these acting classes they have, there is a responsibility for you to be there.
yeah,
There's assignments that you have to turn in.
hmm
There's a structure. Whereas sometimes when you just go to regular acting classes, there's no structure. If you don't show up this week, the instructor's like, kind of fine, you pick up
hmm
next week. But when you actually go to a regular school and you're paying your hard-earned money, college, UCLA, extension courses, so on and so forth, they have a criteria which you have to meet in order to pass those classes and say, hey, I'm an actor.
I totally agree. I actually am a graduate of the Savannah College of Art and Design, and I've seen those performing arts students. And yes, you are totally right. There's a different skill set. So, actors out there, please take notes. He is truly dropping gems. If you want to become a great actor, take theater first and then transition, guys. That will make a great actor. We're on the line with the one, the only, the talented Preston A. Whitmore this second. Get those questions ready. There's a button on the bottom with the question mark. We will take your questions there at the end of the session. So, Preston, this kind of move forward a little bit. So, on feature films, you have you as you know, you have more time to build with your actors than if you were doing episodic television. So this is my question for you, Preston. Talk to me about your process in building a strong director actor relationship, and how has that helped you on set today as a director?
Well, I mean, the key thing is that oftentimes actors have a lot of questions or may not understand something in a particular scene.
Yeah,
What I like to do is spend time with each actor, whether it's on the phone or in person, and go over the entire script.
yeah.
And that way, any questions they have is answered, or any ideas they may have that they want to bring to it, then you can clear them right then and there.
hmm
Um, the day to do it, unfortunately, sometimes because we're sort of in a microwave
hmm
sort of film producing time right now, sometimes you don't see the actor till that day.
Mm.
But you got to take the time to go in his dressing room or while they're doing their makeup and say, hey, look, let's go over this. And then when they get on set, I clear the set right off the bat. And
Yeah.
then I spend maybe 10, 15, if it takes a half hour, where we walk through the scene and make sure everybody clearly understands what's going on.
That makes
And that
sense.
helps the act. That's the actor's time. And you want to
hmm
give them that time and that particular type of respect for them to bring the best that they can to the picture.
Oh, that's awesome. And so I have a quick question. So let's say you are directing a film, and let's say you get an actor, and they come in from maybe New York, but you cannot meet them until it's time for them to film. What is your process as a director to kind of make them comfortable and trust you in that quick amount of time walking straight on set? What would you do?
Well, I always get on the phone with somebody beforehand. Like,
Okay.
it's interesting
Mm,
when I hired Michael
yeah.
K. Williams for doing Hard Time.
Yeah.
Um, he did his audition in New York and sent us a tape.
Copy
I
you.
had already been watching The Wire, which other people wasn't watching at that particular time, and knew that he was a guy. And then when he sent this tape, it was incredible. So I got right on the phone with him right away.
I love that. Phones are very helpful. That's great. I love how you.
Yeah.
It's very important. That's
Well,
great. We're
you want to
yeah.
talk to the actor and make sure he understands or she understands what's going on.
At least have a conversation. So directors out there, at least try to have some type of conversation before that actor comes on set. That's coming from the man himself, Preston Whitmore. Put those questions in the box below. There's a question mark below. We will answer your questions at the end of the session. So let's move on a little bit more. Let's talk all things relationships, Preston. You know a lot about that, being a successful director. So what advice would you give people trying to maneuver in the industry but don't quite understand the importance of relationships and also burning bridges? Talk to them about the importance of that, Preston.
Well, I mean, I don't think anybody intentionally burns a bridge. I mean, you can have any situation that you disagree with
Yeah,
and decide not to partake in it. That's your certainly your right.
yeah.
I find that one of the things is um, people don't know enough about movies. I was talking to an actor the other day, and
Hmm.
they didn't know who made the movie.
Yeah.
Uh, so I think you should do more homework. First and
Hmm.
foremost, you probably want to look at the top 100 movies. And when you look at the top 100 movies, you want to remember who they were made by.
Agreed.
Oftentimes, people only remember the stars of the picture, but those aren't the people that hire you.
Hmm.
The people that hire you are the producers, the directors, and then to a extent, the casting director is the one that's probably going to bring you in. So if
Hmm.
you're looking to get into business and you're an actor, you want to become familiar with those people. Um, there's probably like maybe a dozen African American female casting directors in Los Angeles. Oftentimes, these people teach acting classes. So
Hmm.
if you want to be seen by them, um, take their classes,
Hmm.
figure out the way to get into them. But unless you look and see who these people are, then you're just kind of spinning your wheels. Because you
Hmm.
can run
I
up to an
totally
actor
agree.
and be like, "Hey, how you doing?" And
Hmm.
you'll see them in Los
Yeah.
Angeles, and they'll be like, "Okay, what do you want me to do for you?" But
Yeah.
they can't put you in a movie
Hmm.
or a series that comes from the writers and the producers of that particular movie or series.
I totally
So those
agree.
are the people you should become aware that exist.
Copy you guys. He is dropping gems. Please find out more than just the stars of the film, guys. Find out who the casting director is. Find out who the UPM, if you can. Find out anything, what position you are, but it's more than just the stars. We get it. They're the face of it, but there is more than the stars. We're on the line with the talented Preston Whitmore. Get those questions ready. They're showing so much love in the comments for you. Yes, he is here, guys, but also put those questions on the bottom in the question mark box. We will get to those at the
Yeah,
end.
Kim Harden's a great casting director. I just saw somebody put that up there. She's a great casting director.
Yeah.
Um, Leah Daniels Butler,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
um,
Raven
Natasha
Drummer. Yeah.
Ward. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of great casting directors out there,
Mm-hmm.
and it would behoove you to find out who they are.
I totally agree, guys. Find out who those casting directors are. We're on the line with the talented Preston Whitmore. So let's move on to something that you know a lot about. Hashtag my lens never lies. I think you know a lot about that. Hashtag, yeah, yeah. I knew you were going to laugh about that. Hashtag my lens never lies. So that's a hashtag that you use frequently on your social media pages, Preston. But I know there is a deeper meaning to that hashtag for you to say that. So this is my question. As a director, what does that hashtag mean to you, and how has my lens never lies hashtag impacted your style and eye of directing today?
It's sort of interesting because it's taken on a lot of different meanings over
Hmm.
time.
Yeah.
But particularly, but if you work with anybody that has worked with me on a film as far as crew, particularly in the DP area,
Hmm.
um, I shoot at eye level.
Mm.
I shoot at eye level, and I generally shoot 50 millimeter,
Yeah.
uh, which makes it feel like that you're actually talking to the person that you're seeing perform.
Mm.
I think that aids in a way that makes the audience closer to the actor
Hmm.
in that particular style. So you're never reminded that you're looking at a movie.
I
You just
love
feel
that.
like that you're in the room with the people and are seeing them live out their lives. Um, so my lens never lies because it's coming from the perspective of somebody actually being a fly on the wall and watching somebody else's life as opposed to thinking about it being a motion picture.
Wow, that's powerful. And that is from created from Preston Whitmore, My Lens Never Lies. Directors, take notes of that because I think we all may try to take that technique. Dropping from the gems from Preston Whitmore. Get those questions ready. I know I am taking notes. He is truly here. So let's talk about all things This Christmas. That is truly my favorite holiday. I got to talk about This Christmas while I have you here. And guys, This Christmas stars Loretta Devine, Idris Elba, Chris Brown, Regina King, and Mekhi Phifer, just to name a few. A true all-star cast, I should say. So
Yeah, we
this
were very
Christmas,
blessed to get
yeah,
that cast.
yeah, I totally agree. I was in high school, actually high school going to college when it came out. And this Christmas is a holiday family classic for the culture, and we truly appreciate you for creating a story that celebrates Black people and Black people going to college. So we want to publicly say thank you for showing that can be done. Thank you so much, sir. So this is what I want to talk to you about, Preston. I read that the three sons in the film of This Christmas were the three phases. They represented the three phases of your life. So talk to me about the inspiration behind the film, and how did you get Hollywood hitmaker producer Will Packer on board to tell that story?
It's interesting because actually, Will actually didn't come onto the picture till maybe a couple weeks before we actually started shooting.
Wow.
There was another producer on board from the start, a guy by the name of Damon Lee. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him.
Okay.
But he's an executive. He worked for Tracy Evans for a while, and independent producer. So he was on the picture originally. When we started out, actually, it was just me on the movie. It was going to be a low budget, like $4 or $5 million movie. We started sending the script around, and actors started responding. And thankful to this president of the studio, which was Clint Culpepper at the time, he saw what the movie could be. And so as we got greater response from the actors, which I always think if you write good stuff, actors will want to do it.
Yeah.
So we started garnering attention, and then we picked up this guy, then we picked up this guy, then I called up Mekhi, and then he said he would come on board. He had read it, he liked it. And before we knew it, we had this incredible cast. And so the budget just kept rising as it was brought in the cast. And the three sons, yes, they did represent three different phases of my life. Once when I was in the Marine Corps, Columbus represented that phase of my life.
Yeah.
Again, I was never a singer. I was a rapper at one time, but I was never a singer.
I read that. Yeah, yeah.
And Chris represented that portion of my life. And Idris represented when I came to Los Angeles and became a writer, and I did not move back to Detroit. Also other things, they were called the Whitfields because, Whitmore, Whitfields. There was a really, Loretta Devine's character was based on my mother.
Wow.
Shirley Ann Whitmore, and she was Shirley Ann Whitfield. There was a real Joe Black.
Oh, really? A real Joe Black? Okay.
There was a real Joe Black.
Yeah. Okay.
Actually, I think he was still alive at the time that the movie came out, and actually had an opportunity to see it. So those were experiences actually from my life.
Yeah.
Regina King's character was based on my older sister, who was very bossy when I was growing up, and had a problem. She was always that one.
Yeah.
Kimberly Whitmore. And the other two sisters were based on my two cousins, Tammy and Michelle Thornhill.
Yeah.
So they were based on them. And you write what you know, and we covet what we see first. So I also think that those moments, the audience can feel when something's contrived.
That's true. Yeah.
And different moments in that picture, they can feel the ring of truth to them. Another great thing about that picture was originally when it was being bannered about, they kept thinking that for some reason it was interpreted on a studio level that these people were going to be like in good times, like they were going to live in some downtrodden house.
That's crazy, man.
And so we came up with they were going to be middle class, which is kind of like, where I came from. So it became, inspirational for other African-American people to see that, because we hadn't seen that prior to this movie. I mean, we saw some of it a little bit, I guess, in The Best Man, Malcolm Lee, but we hadn't saw it like in a huge family dynamic like this. So we ended up once that was laid out, then all of a sudden, everything that we looked at after that, as far as location, changed.
Mm-hmm,
But it was
mm-hmm.
important for me to show a nice middle class African American family, and people have duplicated it since then.
I'm just so glad you did it, sir. Like I said before, I was in college. I didn't know I wanted to be a director, and all I know is you show great representation on screen. Guys, art imitates life, and coming from Preston Whitmore, he used some of his life experiences and made a classic for the culture. So again, we appreciate you, sir, for what you did. I watch
Oh,
it
thank you.
every holiday with my family, and we love it. So thank you, sir, for that. So
That picture
yes,
has been
yes.
very kind to me over the years.
Yes, I love you. I love it. So I love it. So let's talk a little bit more about that. So we still on the topic of yes, this Christmas. We are talking about this Christmas. So what was the most challenging aspect to directing this Christmas, and what was your process directing so many actors at the same time? We had so many actors at the same time, sir.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, it was interesting because we kind of divided them up.
Mm.
Uh,
Hmm.
uh, Between myself, Will Packer, and Clint, we kind of divided the actors up, and we handled different ones at different periods of time in the movie.
Okay,
Um,
got you.
and again, we spent time with the actors prior to doing the movie and talk about different things. I mean, one of the classic scenes in that movie that people really love, I didn't even come up with, which is when Laz Alonso was in the bathroom.
Oh, I love that scene. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. With the belt.
originally,
Yeah.
and originally in the screenplay, she was going to threaten to cut his penis off.
Oh wow.
Um,
Okay.
I felt like we had seen that before. And then when we
Yeah.
sat down and met with Regina King, she started to tell us some things that happened in her life. She was going through at that particular point in time. And then
Yeah.
she mentioned, she said, I should have did what my friend did. And then
Yeah.
she explained a scene that was similar to that.
Hmm.
And then me, Will, and Clint were sitting there like, oh shit, this is it.
That's it.
Um,
Yeah.
I got home and I immediately wrote it into the screenplay,
Yeah.
and then called Clinton. What do you think about this? And then read it to him. He's like, yo, we got to have it.
Oh,
And that's
that.
what I'm
Yeah.
saying. When you have one of those real moments and you
Hmm.
add it to your picture, it's golden, and people can feel that.
I love that. It was actually the most funny moment of the movie. A great idea, guys. And he listened to the actor. He wasn't on a certain level where he couldn't hear her. So take notes, directors. It's okay to get
Oh, a great
feedback from
idea
the
can come from
actors.
anywhere, but you
Yeah.
got to be open into it. You're not some type of emperor or
Yeah.
president. You want to get counsel from good people.
Hmm.
I don't care if the craft services guy come up with a good idea. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, let's
Totally
do it.
agree. Totally agree, guys. We're on the line with the talented Preston Whitmore. Those questions are lining up on my end. Keep sending them my way. I'm gonna get to as many as possible. So let's talk about another dope film. You know what I'm going to say. True to the game. Come on, we got to talk about it. True to the game. Yes, we're on the line with Preston Whitmore. So this is and that movie stars Columbus Short, Erica Peoples, Vivica A. Fox, and Andra Fuller, just to name a few. Check out that film if you haven't checked it out. This is my question for you, Preston. What was it like directing that film that you did not write originally? I know you wrote part two, but I know you didn't write part one. So how was that experience
No, I
directing
did
that
write
film?
part one.
Oh, really? Oh, I need to
Yeah,
get
yeah.
IMDb for saying that.
I didn't, I
IMDb
didn't, I
messed
didn't
me
get
up.
credit for it because
Oh, okay, I
I
got you.
wrote it as a director.
Copy you. Copy
I
you.
was hired as a director, then I wrote it.
Hmm.
So the previous director had
Got
penned the
you.
script, so I didn't get credit for what I actually did write.
Oh, that's very
True to the game,
interesting. Very
and I
interesting,
wrote
sir.
two
Yeah.
as well.
Wow.
I didn't direct
Yeah.
two.
Yeah, Jamal Hill. That's my. He was on
Yeah,
another episode. Love Jamal
yeah,
Hill. First
great
of all,
guy,
now that I
good
know you
director.
wrote it, you are amazing, guys. He wrote it and directed it. So, what was your process like directing the first part of the franchise of True to the Game? What was the most hurdles that you had to go through for that?
I didn't really have any hurdles.
Yeah.
Columbus was a part came on exactly the same time I came on. In fact,
Awesome.
I had recommended him to the director that was on prior to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was sitting there thinking, and I was like, okay, Columbus would be great for this role, and I
Wow.
recommended him to the director, and they said okay. So shortly after that, that director was fell out of the picture, and then I came on. So I came on already with a guy that I wanted to work with.
Yeah. Awesome. That is so great. I'm so glad
So
you
there
yeah.
wasn't big hurdles in that area,
Hmm.
and he had a definite hand in us securing some of the cast that we did. Erica Peoples, who came on, was Columbus's
Hmm.
choice,
Yeah.
and then we both wanted Nelson, God rest his soul. He was incredible in the
Yeah.
picture.
Yeah.
I brought in Andre Fuller
Hmm.
to play that character, and also Man City. When Man City came in to play,
Yeah,
I forget the character's name, but I had created this thing that he would
yeah.
say every time he murdered somebody, which was "I'll make you famous."
Okay. Also,
And
okay. I love that. Okay. Yeah.
yeah, that wasn't in the book. I created that,
But
and
you
I
created
was
that. Yeah.
inspired that from Jay-Z.
Mm.
When in the song when he says, "If you shoot me, I'm brainless. If I shoot you, you're famous."
Wow. So you took that moment from a moment in a song and you put it in your film. I love
Right. So
that,
it became the
guys.
mantra for this guy right before he killed somebody.
Wow, I love that, guys. Get your questions ready. We are almost at Q&A. I know everybody is so excited to ask their questions. But before we talk about getting to Q&A, let's talk about True to the Game too. So, of course, as we all know, the talented Jamal Hill directed that
Right.
part of the movie. But talk to me about being the first director on it. What advice did you give Jamal going into the second part of that franchise?
Well, we didn't talk a great deal because I everybody sort of directs had their vision of how to proceed. The only thing you can do is write the best screenplay for what I thought the sequel of the movie should be.
Yeah,
And so I did that. But I don't come on other people's set and sort of tell them how to run their show. Or I
yeah,
mean, if he asked me a question, I certainly would provide. Okay, I talked to him a couple of times on the phone. He asked me a couple of questions in relation to the
yeah.
script and stuff like that, and I gave him as much information I could. But I don't get involved in
Yeah.
that. I wouldn't want
Got
anybody
you,
to do
got
it
you.
to me, and I'm not going to do it to anybody else.
Totally agreed. Independent producers and writers, please take note of what he said. Respect the man's position. I love it.
You got
Coming
to
from the
respect the
talented,
chair. You know,
yeah, you got
I
to.
don't care
Yeah,
who you are. You got to respect the chair, and you don't know what this person's vision is or how it's going to manifest, but you got to let them do their thing. That's why
I
you hired
totally
them.
agree. Exactly. Independent producers and writers, please take notes. Trust who you hire in that director's chair. We're on the line with the talented Preston Whitmore. He is truly, and I repeat, truly dropping gems. And that's a great transition to our Q&A, guys. All right, so the first question is going to come from my brother, Christopher Nolan. Here we go. Brother
It's fun.
Preston, how do you go about doing your blocking with your talent?
Oh, I talked about that a little bit earlier
Yeah,
when we walked through it in the beginning.
yeah.
We'll walk through it and decide like what's the person's secondary action is going to be, whether they're
Uh-huh.
washing dishes or playing cards, so on and so forth. And then I bring in the DP and my first and everybody else, and they see what we've walked through. And
Yeah.
then the DP, if you have a good DP, he'll help you with blocking. But if you don't, then you do it yourself. It's something you learn over time, uh, mostly to save time. So
Hmm.
if you have two or three people in the scene, you may start shooting one way and get two in that, depending on what the dialogue is. But you want to look at what's most important in the scene. That sort of dictates how you're going to block it. So
That's
if a
very
guy is
important.
holding a spatula and the spatula is important to the scene, you want to make sure that you get a single of the spatula. Another thing that I think that young directors really need to know is the fact that you want to get as many inserts as possible
Yeah.
because you never know how you have to cut a scene.
Mm.
So, but you can't cut a scene if you don't have anything to cut to.
Hmm.
So it's important that you get as many inserts. You may write down a half a dozen of them. If you get three or four of them, then you're golden.
Oh,
Because
thank you for that. Yeah.
you want to always make sure you get inserts.
Always get inserts. I know I'm taking notes.
Always.
Directors always get inserts. Next
Mhm.
question for you, Preston, come from Lakiba One. Do you use a particular casting agency to select cast members for your movies?
Um, I work with pretty much everybody. I work with Robbie Reed. I worked with Kim Harden.
Hmm.
Um, I'm currently working with Leah Daniels Butler.
Mm.
She also worked with me 25 years ago, I think, when I did During Hard Time.
Oh, yeah.
She cast that picture. Uh, I work with Natasha Ward.
Hmm.
So, again, as I said, you got to learn who these people are
Yeah.
and you'll get opportunities through them to be in a motion picture. Because I think everybody, chance and circumstances awarded everybody. You'll get your chance. Circumstances will present themselves for you to have an opportunity. You just got to be ready for it when they knock on your door.
I totally agree. Be ready when they knock on your door, guys. Next question coming from Saja C. Recommendations for network. I said that all. I know I did. I messed that all up. But recommendations for networking in LA.
um, I'm not a fan of the phrase networking.
Yeah.
I mean, because oftentimes people think as you go out to a party,
Hmm.
um, and you're going to meet people there. I think that's the wrong environment to kind of network in, because the people that are there that are in the film industry, they're not there to network. They're there to have a good time. Certainly, sometimes in the course of having a good time, you meet people. That's cool.
Yeah.
But I think there are forums like film festivals, uh, especially film festivals, and different sort of acting, oh, it's the African American Film Festival, and the one they
Uh,
have in Miami
American
as
Black
well.
Film Festival. I love that
Right.
one. Yeah, love it. Hmm.
We've had actually, I think this Christmas premiered there. I've
Oh
also had
wow.
crossover premiere there, and those are sort of the places that you want to approach people that are in the industry. You don't want to walk up to somebody's table while they're having dinner with their kids. That's really not the appropriate place. And if you're at a club, you know, people are drinking, so on and so forth, and they're
Hmm.
there to have a good time. They're not necessarily there to discover talent.
Totally agree. So it's all about the time and the place, guys. And so preferably film festivals. Yeah.
Film festivals are perfect. I mean, you're gonna you're gonna
Yeah.
you're gonna meet people there, and most important, the people that are coming, they know that they're going to be
Hmm.
there for people that are trying to meet them, so they're better prepared for it, as opposed to like you're in LA and you go to Catch LA, or you go to Prime and you see them sitting there having a meal, and all of a sudden you run up on them and want to hand them a headshot. They're not readily
Exactly.
prepared for that.
Totally agree. And they may put it in their bag and never look at it. So yes, all about time and the place. I totally agree, sir. Totally agree. Next question's coming from Tim. We're gonna get it. Yeah, we're gonna keep on moving. Mr. Whitmore, what are your three key factors when it comes to creating a screenplay?
Three key factors. Oh my God.
Hmm.
One of the things I always do when I'm writing is I always know my beginning and I always know my ending.
Mm,
To me, I think the second act will work itself out if you know where you're going. So if
yeah,
you know where you're starting and you know where you're going, if you stay true to that, you can pretty much, write a screenplay.
I love that.
I know
Love
I'm
that.
making it sound simple, but yes, I think that's the way.
Oh no, we are definitely taking those. Yes, we are still here on the line doing Q&A. Next questions coming from We Chastity. Interesting. When it comes to casting, do you have a say so in casting, or do you just leave that to the casting directors?
Um, yeah, when I'm making a movie, I have a say so in all things.
Hmm.
Um,
Copy you, sir.
but in conjunction with that, you've brought people on to counsel you, to
Yeah.
bring you good talent. So you want to take their counsel. I mean,
Hmm.
they're out there every day trying to discover new talent. I
Yeah.
mean, we are sincerely waiting to find the next Denzel Washington, waiting to find the next Halle Berry. We can't wait for that to happen.
Hmm.
Uh, and you have to rely on your casting director that they're out there doing pre-casting, looking at people. I think Leah Daniels just did a thing where she had a lot of people do monologues on
Yeah, on
Instagram
Instagram,
during the
sure did.
pandemic.
Yep.
So she's out there just trying to discover new talent during her downtime.
Yeah,
And we can't wait for somebody to say, hey, look, you got to look at this person. They got something special.
that's right. Yeah, they're
So you
always
do
looking.
rely on your casting, but in some situations, depending on whatever the role is, sometimes you just go ahead and you make the decision and you say, hey, this is the person. But you want to hear everybody.
Gotcha. You always want to hear everybody out. I love that, sir. Next question is coming from Euro2002. Do you put water in your scripts?
I don't understand that question.
Okay, copy you. Okay, yeah, copy. Re-ask that question again. Yes, and come back. Copy you, sir.
Do I
We're
put
gonna go ahead.
water in my scripts?
Okay, copy you. We'll go to the next question, sir. What about this one right here, coming from Soul Choice Theater? What's the lowest budget you have ever had in a
Oh,
film you
wow.
directed?
I mean, I've done stuff for $10,000. I
Mm,
mean, when I was first starting out, I was just writing stuff and shooting it.
yeah,
And this is how you learn your craft, though. Um, what you learn is even if you're just shooting it with your iPhone
yeah.
and you got a bunch of friends there, when you eventually get an opportunity to make a movie, there's gonna be 100,000 questions that people are gonna ask you. They're gonna
Yeah.
ask you, well, how many extras do you need?
Mm,
But if you never sort of sat down and went into a room and counted how many people were in there, you have no idea how many to tell them.
totally agree. Hmm.
So, uh, and I know your question was, what's the lowest? I want to say about $10,000, $5,000.
Hmm.
But doing those type of things are great exercises and figuring out how many people do I need in this room.
Mm,
Uh, so when your producer asks, well, how many extras you need? Oh, well, I need 40. And you know what 40 is. Also, you learn how long it takes you to shoot a scene.
mm,
Uh, if you're doing coverage and you're practicing with your phone, whatever, you got 3 or 4 people there, time out how long it takes you to shoot that scene.
mm.
That way, when you finally get an opportunity to make a studio movie, so on and so forth, because the biggest thing with studio movies is this, is time.
Time. Mm,
Time is a great commodity. It's the most valuable commodity when you're making a movie.
hmm.
So you got to know how long it's going to take you to shoot a scene.
Hmm. Mm.
Um, but if
That's
you
very
haven't
good.
practiced that, then you don't know how long. And so therefore, you don't know how long your day is going to be.
Copy
And
you.
the worst thing that a director can do is go over time
Mm.
because that costs the production more money.
Money. Mm. So that's something that independent directors, we need to practice working on
In the
time
film
using. Yeah.
industry, time is money.
Time is money. Copy you, sir. Copy you. Thank you for that as a reminder. Time is money, independent directors. Yeah. Next
Not
question.
independent on every
Every
movie.
director. Yeah, definitely.
Every
Every
movie,
movie.
time is
Yes.
money. So you want to
Yes.
learn how long it takes to shoot a scene, how many extras, like they're going to ask you a million questions. So
Yes,
you got
sir.
to be prepared to answer those questions.
Mm-hmm.
But knowing how long it's going to take you to shoot a scene is a key thing.
Got you. Thank you for that. He is truly dropping gems. I know I am. My notes are full over here on my end, guys.
I,
Next questions. Yeah, go
let
ahead,
me let
sir.
me
Sorry.
add
Yeah.
on to that because the rule of thumb is a minute a page.
Yes,
But
sir.
sometimes you run across a little paragraph that's an action sequence,
Mm-hmm.
which may take you 2 days.
Mm.
But if you haven't figured that out, then you can't give your first AD the proper amount of time that it's going to take, or your producers, and all this is predicated on what the budget is going to be.
Mm.
So you got to learn how to do that. Maybe practicing like with your iPhone, going out and say, okay, I'm going to
Yep.
shoot action sequence here and see how long it takes me and what
Mm-hmm.
particular type of coverage I need to do it to make it convincing.
I love it. And let me ask a quick question. I've heard some directors say they don't actually do shot lists. Do you think that's a hindrance when trying to stay on time? They just want to come on and they're more creative without a shot list? That's just something I want to know. What do you do?
I think it depends on the scene. I mean,
Mm,
any director that's worth their salt has mastered standard coverage.
of course. Yeah.
And they generally come in with the biggest thing is figure out, okay, how I'm going to come into the scene. You
Yeah.
generally want to come into a scene with a nice camera move or something. You figure that out.
Hmm.
Uh, but you should, again, in practicing, you should know coverage like by the back of your hand, you
Mm,
know. Of course, you have a script supervisor there. Now, if you're doing something more complicated, um, you definitely want to do a shot list. When I did crossover, one of the big things, we had a lot of basketball stuff and plot points in the basketball.
yeah.
So I would sit down and write up every shot,
Wow.
and it'd be like 25 shots or
Man.
setups. But these are all the little pieces of basketball that you want to get. And then I
Yeah.
would give it to the script supervisor, and I was like, okay, make sure that I stay on track. Make sure I
Uh,
don't miss any of this stuff here.
copy you. That now he is truly dropping gems. Now
And you
definitely
also
I
want to
know.
give
Yeah.
that to your first AD too. You want
Yeah.
to give that in first so that you can time out properly how you're moving through your day and if you got all the shots that you need. Because what you don't want to do is spend extra time in or money coming back to get it.
Copy you. Thank you for that, sir. And the last
Mm-hmm.
question in Q&A before we get to my last three questions. What advice would you give to screenwriters to create compelling stories?
Again, I think you write what you know.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. You write what you know. Um, Whatever the story is, if it's your story, nobody's going to know it like you.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to know the small innuendos. Like I've been looking at The Last Dance, and when you look at The Last Dance, it's a documentary, and it's about events like a lot of us know about already.
Yeah.
But when you see it shot in the way that it's shot, and the personal innuendos that are brought to it that only could have been brought to it by them being up close and letting us see Michael Jordan with his head down, not anticipating the camera and so on and so forth, not the guy that walks out to the podium.
Yeah.
When you unveil that, that's when it becomes special. So in writing compelling stories, only you will know certain brilliant innuendos or the ring of truth in that story. So you should write what you know.
Right, what you know. That's very important for everybody out there who's writing. Write what you know. Thank you for talking to us about that. And I have 3 more questions on my end, sir. That concludes our Q&A. So what's next for you, sir? What is next for you?
Well, actually, I'm waiting for the pandemic to be over to begin doing a picture called Hello.
Yeah.
It's being produced with me along with a woman by the name of Jamie McCoy Langford.
Yeah.
Langford. We're doing that movie. It's a script I wrote probably, I don't know, maybe 6-7 years ago. And most of it takes place, like 70% of it takes place within an apartment building. So the kind of the challenge that I was going for, and it's a thriller, was to make it entertaining while at one central location. Back in the day, when you used to look at movies with Humphrey Bogart, the Maltese Falcon, so on and so forth, you used to see these actors have 8-minute scenes.
Yeah.
And they would hold you in those rooms with their talent. And you don't see enough of that nowadays. So that's one of the things that I really want to try to do in this next picture. And it's called Hello. And it's certainly inspired by this song by Lionel Richie, which is Hello.
I love that. It's inspired by a song again. Hello. I cannot wait to see that.
Right.
And I love that. And the next question, what advice would you give to that person out there who heard your story, sir, but they want it right now? They want the success right now. They want to work with the stars. They want the fun glitz and the glamour, the fun stuff. They want instant success. What advice would you give that person who really don't want to go through the process?
Don't get in the film industry.
Yes, sir.
Don't want to go through the process. I think everybody gets an opportunity, but if you don't go through the process of learning everything, you're going to be fly by night. I mean, I've been writing and directing for 30 years.
Yes, sir.
A lot of people maybe not like what I do, but yet here I am.
Yeah.
So if you don't learn the process or go through it, then you may get an opportunity, but you won't last long.
Wow.
This business builds people up to tear them down.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just the way it works.
Agreed. Yep, they do.
So you may come in and you become the hot thing that week, but it's what's going to sustain that.
What's going to sustain that? Wow.
And the only thing that can sustain that is knowledge and knowing what you're doing. And if you don't learn what you're doing and think you can do it by fly by the seat of your pants, I can name a bunch of directors that thought that are no longer around.
Wow. Knowledge is important, guys, and go through the process. And my last question for you, sir, what advice would you give that writer, producer, director, actor out there that's watching right now, but they hear what you're saying and they trust you, but they're discouraged. They want to go through the process, but they're discouraged and they feel like it may not ever happen. What advice would you give them, sir?
Like I said, chance and circumstance is going to happen for everybody. I think everybody gets 3 bites of the apple. In your career. I mean, you sort of look at John Travolta, he had 3 bites of the apple, like in the early career, then midway, and then really big. So you get, if you learn your craft, nobody can deny talent.
Yeah, that's right.
If you learn your craft, I mean, if somebody's really talented, we put up, the industry will put up with a lot of shit for somebody who's really talented. The thing that sustains you is knowing your talent.
Yeah.
If you know your talent and you're good at it and you learn it, then it's like anything. If you're a doctor, you're trying to get somewhere, you can get discouraged if it's not happening. But if you know your work, you'll get the job. So that's what you got to do, and you can never quit.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, at the time I decided to write screenplays, I was living in a 1-room studio smaller than my office.
Wow.
And I dropped out of law school, And I came to the conclusion that I would rather sit in this small room and write screenplays than be a successful attorney.
Wow.
And the moment I made that mental decision, things start to happen for me.
Mm. And I'm
But
so glad.
you
Yeah.
have to be patient and be dedicated to what you're doing. If you're writing movies or want to do movies because you don't want to stand in the line at a club, then that's the wrong reason.
Exactly. Totally agree. Totally agree. Wow. Well, you have truly dropped gems on all of us. We appreciate you for being guest number 13 of
Oh wow!
episode.
Thank you for
Yeah.
having me.
Yeah. We
I
actually
think you're
are.
doing a great job of
Yeah.
what you're doing here
Yeah.
too.
Thank you.
I think
Yeah.
people need this information, and you're doing an incredible job of getting it out there to people.
Yeah. Thank
And
you
I
so
applaud
much, sir.
you.
Thank you so much, sir. And I should say episode 20, Director's Corner. Thank you for being an inspiration, sir. You are truly an inspiration. And thank you for coming to Director's Corner, sir. Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
All right. Have a
God
good
bless
day.
you.
You
You
too.
too.
Bye-bye.